What's up, y'all? This is Paintbruh coming in with a nice little Thursday update. It's been a little while since I've uploaded to the channel. I know I was on rapid fire there for a little bit. I think it's been about a week or something like that. I have been working on some stuff though, as you see in front of you. Ow, I just bit the inside of my cheek. I've been working on some stuff as you see in front of you. Throughout my channel, I've talked about the opening of the Warhammer Citadel in Grapevine. The store opening got delayed, but they're holding a Warhammer Weekender at a hotel in Grapevine. They're having several gaming events, Horus Heresy gaming event, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But they also had a kind of hobby showcase slash, it's an informal painting competition, I think. They build it more of a army display type thing, but you know, like build a display board to show your army on. But they also said in the post on their Facebook, show off your favorite miniature, or there's been talk of separate categories. I think it's a little bit informal, but regardless, it gave me enough motivation to make something cool with my Leviathan here, and you know, hopefully I show it off. They do have some like top 3 win who knows what or whatever. So it would be cool if I won something. I don't expect to, but it's the first painting competition I'll ever officially enter into, besides, you know, little stuff on Instagram. So I'm definitely putting some work into it. Maybe it looks like that, maybe not. So yeah, I've been working on this guy, and the idea was I wanted to participate in this Horus Heresy, or not Horus Heresy, this Citadel Weekender, Warhammer Weekender. I had a buddy who was trying to convince me to play, but if you know any about my previous videos, I've said that I've never actually played a game of 40k or Horus Heresy before. And he was like, oh, we can teach you in a week. And I was just really busy this last week, so it didn't work out. But I'm like, well, I want to represent the Horus Heresy when I go there, because the whole thing is about expanding the Horus Heresy scene in North Texas. So I'm like, well, I'll paint this guy. And that'll kind of be my contribution to the Horus Heresy scene at this. You know, I'm not playing a game, but I can show off cool models and maybe evangelize to some 40k players. Maybe even some Age of Sigmar players that are like, oh, what's that? What's the background? Like, how do you do this? Blah, blah, blah. Who knows? But yeah, so I've been working on this guy, and now I guess I'll give you a little bit of a rundown on where I'm at so far. Okay, so this is a 2-part base. I wanted to give him something like a Primarch base. So I knew I was like I knew I wanted to rebase it. If you've seen the previous video of it, I just hated the base. I wanted something cooler. So I knew I was going to rebase it, and so I started working on that with this Rhino hull here that's been torn up. But then I was like, well, that's not really enough, I think, if I'm trying to enter it into a competition for display purposes. So I think I'm going to spice it up and give him a display base like the Primarchs. So this all kind of comes apart. I'm going to take the Leviathan, well, it'll all come together. So once again, all of this is very work in progress. I'm having to cram because the actual event is Sunday is the hobby event, but I'm going to be busy tomorrow afternoon and evening, and then Saturday I'll be at the first day of the Weekender, so I've got to cram in a lot of stuff to get this done. So you can see there's a lot of, from building my Deimos pattern Rhino, I had these sides left over, and I have used one of them as a bit of a base, but I know it's not entirely very three-dimensional just using one side, so I tried to build up underneath it with debris or rubble, like maybe this side got blown off or something, and this is all that's left. I'm going to scar it up with the knife a little bit to kind of give it that beaten appearance. I've got a whole box of milliput between this and this, so I'm having to use my Aves and green stuff for further putty work now, because I'm trying to keep this on a semi-low budget. But yeah, the Leviathan is pinned. Door came off. That's not glued. The Leviathan is pinned through the base here, and I used, it's like a 3mm brass tube. You can see the ugliness on the underside of his feet, and it goes through his leg to really give some stability. I am going to glue that when I'm done, because this is the gaming base, the appropriate, whatever, 80mm or whatever size base it is. But yeah, I've actually done a little bit to the Leviathan since you guys have seen it last. You can see he's got some blood and gore on the old claws, and I knew I wanted to do some blood effects, but I wanted to step it up. And so I went researching this effect, and everybody was like, oh, the only way to do it well is to use UHU glue, UHU glue. People had tried with hot glue guns, people had tried with other things like using the hair and taking PVA glue or super glue. It just doesn't yield the same results, in my opinion, in the results that I'd seen. Maybe somebody out there has it down, but everybody's like, the UHU glue is the only way to do it. And I saw several places that say, you know, I've tried other glues and this is the only one that works. So I was like, okay, well, I've got to go out on a search for this UHU glue. Sounds funny to say back to back like that. So I live in the United States, in Texas specifically, and apparently UHU glue is not readily available around here. Some people have said you can get it online. It said you could get it at places like Michael's. I forget where else, but I ended up going to a Michael's, which is a hobby like craft store. I went to a Michael's. I went to a Hobby Town USA. I think I went to a Home Depot as well, which is like a hardware store, and I couldn't find UHU glue anywhere. So back when I was at Michael's, I'll put this down for a second. I just said on a whim, I'm gonna, pick up a glue and see if I can replicate the effect. And I'm gonna bend down here a second because I need to pick the actual glue up. One sec. Okay, I'm back. And I wanted to show this off because if you're in the US and you're near a Michael's, then this is something that's readily available to you. I was looking at the glues and I'm like, goop, that sounds like it could give a stringy effect. And it did. This is the craft goop. There were 3 or 4 different types. I think this was $4. And if you're doing it for blood effects, you have enough to last forever. I will say the working time with this was like really short. As soon as I squeezed it out, if I didn't immediately start working it onto the claws, it would like kind of break or string out funny. So I eventually just applied directly from the actual nozzle. And you know what I could do is I could give us a little experiment here to show you guys what it does. So here's a piece of resin sprue. You take it and you can see how that strings. So you like wrap it around things like that. And you've got to be pretty delicate with it. If you squeeze too much out, I'm doing this from behind a camera and viewing it through the screen so you can see. But yeah, that's essentially how you get your effects. And it's okay to get a couple of globby bits because it, just simulates drops of blood. Now I've got glue all over the counter. Great. Put that somewhere. So yeah, I did that on this. Now you can use blood for the blood god, but I use Tamiya paints, the clear red, to do the blood effects. And what I did is in the first coat, I used Druki Violet to darken up and give more of a gore color to the blood, and then I came back with the regular Tamiya clear. You can kind of see it like in this area, it's brighter, but you get down here and you've got like a more of a gory effect. But overall, I am super, super happy with how this looks. You can see there's a little bit of splattering as well on the actual claw. And I'm thinking about maybe splattering a little bit around this knee pad just because I think it's a little bit plain and it would make sense that there would be some stuff there. So yeah, that's the Leviathan base. I kind of showed this off already. This will have maybe a dead marine or something on it. That's really the only thing I have left to do on the basing here is add some more detail in the way of dead space wolves and stuff like that. Here is the main part of the base. I'm going to actually take the little banner off. I'll show that to you separately in a second. Main part of the base, built up with cork. I used Milliput to blend in some of the layers of the cork. Then I came in with PVA glue and attached some pieces of slate, some various sizes of rock and dirt, just to blend this all in, because cork doesn't look very natural just stacked upon itself. It's very easy to see that there are weird layers, so I'm hoping I've obscured that well enough. I think I'm going to come back in with some of more of the Agrellan earth and blend areas where you can kind of see separation in the cork, just because, like I said, that doesn't come out looking very natural. But we'll see. I'll probably put a primer coat over it so I can see what it looks like with some paint on it, and then go from there. I've got the Space Wolf from Airman's sprue, the Burning Prospero Airman sprue. So he's kind of submerged there. Got a couple of I-beams sticking out. Like I said, I want to have some dead Space Wolves like laying in a couple of spots on the base, and hopefully they'll have some more gore and viscera and stuff now that I have this cool technique to use. As far as the top part, I had originally tried to do this in cork, and it just wasn't gluing quick enough and was getting really irritating. So I just took a bunch of Milliput and kind of pressed the base in and then sculpted out whatever, didn't fit. And it fits really well. So I'm very pleased with it. Yeah. Other part, which is not glued on yet but attaches into the base, is a banner. And I'm going to use the Thousand Suns Forge World decal sheet to do this. Pretty messy on the back still, a lot of work to go. And I want to do some stuff on the ends, some embellishments and everything. But yeah, really cool. This is out of that same 3mm brass tube, and then I use a little bit thinner for the top up here. And then I cut a piece of plastic card into a rough kind of banner shape, and I took a lighter to it, and you have to be careful because it'll catch on fire or melt too much or deform, but I slowly started shaping it, and it gives a really, really awesome fabric-y type shape. So I'm very, very happy with that.